My name is Wendy Chamberlain. I'm president of the Middle East Institute, and I'd like to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of all of the staff, the Center for Turkish Studies, myself, our board, and our members to this conference. You know, from the very early days of the Arab Spring uprising in 2011, Turkey played a very prominent role in the discussion as a possible model for those transition states that were transitioning out of autocratic regimes, hopefully to becoming democratic states, but still retaining their Islamic culture. Clearly, the way Turkey's government, led by Prime Minister Erdogan, handles the current crisis of social unrest in Turkey today will say a lot about Turkey's future as a leader and as a role model in the region. We're very lucky this afternoon to have a personal representative of Prime Minister Erdogan, Deputy Prime Minister Bashir Atalay, join us today to talk firsthand about the policies of the government towards what is happening in Turkey, what is happening in Turkey's foreign policy in the region, hopefully Syria. As I mentioned before, this is our fourth annual conference. The first one we held in 2010. We were surprised then at the popularity of the conference. It drew over 200 people. We had to stop registering people for this conference at 750. So the growing popularity of this conference, I think, is a testament to the quality of our speakers. We make a true effort to bring people in from Turkey to have regional voices shared with you here in Washington, but also to the quality and relevance of the topics. But there's one more factor, I think, that makes this conference so popular and noteworthy, and that is a person. And that person is Dr. Gönül Tol, who is the executive director of the Center for Turkish Studies at MEI. Gönül, can you stand up? Okay, there she is. She has worked all year long to put this conference together. We've kept her very busy at it, but she's found time to write penetrating op-ed and papers on the Kurdish situation, on Turkey's relations with Syria, on internal domestic issues and foreign policy issues. So we're very pleased to have Gönül, with her commitment and her talents, working with us at the Middle East Institute. We've been in the news quite a bit lately, too, with the Middle East Institute. We've just instituted a new initiative, the Arab Transitions. I'd like to ask you, perhaps during a break, to go onto your smartphones and take a look at our website. We have a new front page and a new page on Arab transitions that you will find interesting because we've made an effort to bring a lot of the cutting-edge tools on websites to our website. You'll find embedded news feeds. You'll find a photo gallery. You'll find videos with some hilarious videos on Bassem Youssef on our website. He is the John Daly, of course, John Stewart of Egypt. But we also have something that I think is very important, and these are creative, innovative, fresh thinking from people in the region. We focused on Egypt in the first tranche of the Arab Transitions website. So do take a look at it. As you do that, think also about becoming a member of the Middle East Institute. We have a desk at the back where you can enroll. We have in your packet a list of the benefits you get from becoming a member. I see many members out there, and we want to thank you for your contributions and your loyalty and your membership to the Middle East Institute, but some of you aren't. And if you aren't, we'd like you to join us to help us make possible conferences like this, which are offered free to the public. We intend to expand our offerings to the public, and on September 13, we'll be doing a full-day conference on Egypt. On November 14th, we have our annual conference, which is also a highlight in the Washington area. And as a member, of course, you'll get our notices. You'll get to to participate in conferences like this, you'll get a subscription to the Middle East Journal, the peer-reviewed academic journal that we put out 4 times a year, and much, much more. Then you can see that in the flyer in your packet. Today, to launch this conference, we have a very special speaker, Congressman Ed Whitfield from the 1st Congressional District of Kentucky will be joining us. He's done quite a bit since he first entered Congress in 1994 of importance to all of us. He was very helpful in pushing through the first Medicare prescription drug benefit plan for seniors, and he's done quite a bit for treating animals humanely. These are important issues. But what really brings him here today is his role as co-chairman of the Congressional Caucus on Turkey and Turkish Americans. I know Congressman Whitfield will agree that the Turkish-American relationship is becoming increasingly important. We're grateful that he can join us. He has to leave, unfortunately, at 9:30. He'll make some remarks. We'll take as many questions as we can. Probably won't be more than 2 or 3. But I won't talk any longer because I want to turn the floor over to you. Thank you very much.
Well, Wendy, thank you very much, and I want to thank all of you for joining us this morning and giving us the opportunity to discuss an important subject matter, and that's Turkey. I also want to give my thanks to Gönül Toll and the great job that she has done here in the Center for Turkish Studies within the Mideast Institute. People frequently, when they find that I'm quite involved in Turkish issues, ask me the question, how did you become involved in Turkish issues? Because being from rural Kentucky, I can tell you there are not a lot of Turkish citizens in rural Kentucky. And the answer to the question is very simple. Fort Campbell, Kentucky is in my district. It's the home of the 101st Airborne Division, the 5th Special Forces Group, and the 160th Special Aviation Group. And every commanding general, since I was first elected to Congress back in 1994, had talked to me about the military importance of Turkey, or at least the importance of Turkey to the U.S. military. And obviously, Turkey is more important to America than just military issues. But the first general that talked to me about it was Jack Keane, who subsequently became Chief of Staff of the Army. And we were flying down to Haiti one time together, and he started talking about Turkey. And of course, I had been in Turkey before I was elected to Congress because my wife, Connie, was a director of the Export-Import Bank of the United States, and one of her portfolios was export of environmental technology. And she went to Turkey periodically to give speeches, and I accompanied her as her spouse. So that was my first visit to Turkey. But obviously, like many people, I fell in love with the country, the history, the culture, the people, and I've always been so impressed with the emphasis that the majority of Turks place on education. And since I've been in Congress, I've always had an intern in my office from Turkey, and as you know, many of them come to school here. And so this American-Turkish relationship is very important, and I was very proud to work with Ambassador Kandemir, Ambassador Baki Ilkin, when we first established the Turkish caucus in the U.S. Congress, and that was about roughly 12 years ago. So I was one of the founders with Robert Wexler, a Democrat from Florida, who's no longer in the Congress. But soon after that, we also established a Turkish study group within the U.S. Congress. And because of ethical concerns that I won't get into, we had to put it under the umbrella of the Former Members Association of the U.S. Congress, and there are about 5 study groups in that Former Members Association umbrella. And now one of them certainly is Turkey. But I think the caucus has been quite helpful in issues affecting Turkey in the U.S. Congress. I don't have to tell you that the Greek lobby is very strong, the Armenian lobby is very strong, and frequently they like to bring up the Armenian genocide resolution and other issues like that. So as a result of this caucus, and at one time we had 157 members at the end of the 112th Congress. It's actually down to 130 now after the elections, but we know that we'll get new members in it. But we've at least been able in the caucus and in the Congress to present Turkey's side of the issue and emphasize the importance of Turkey to the U.S. and our relationship between each other. Many of you know a lot more about this issue than I do. I know we have many academics in the audience. We have a lot of people in the industry in the audience. And I'm not going to go through the history of our relationship, but it's my understanding that the first charge d'affaires from the U.S. to Istanbul was 1831. I don't think that there was any major involvement with our country and Turkey really until after the Cold War. After the Cold War, I mean at the beginning of the Cold War, we did start forming this close relationship with Turkey. So I'm not going to get into the history lessons, but I will tell you that when the AK Party came to power in 2002, Prime Minister Erdogan frequently, when he would come to town, he would actually come up and spend an hour with us in the Turkish caucus. So the first 4 or 5 years that the AK Party was in power, we spent a lot of time with Prime Minister Erdogan up on the Hill. And we were all quite impressed with Prime Minister Erdogan. I don't have to tell you, he's an excellent politician. And the economy in Turkey has been very strong. As you know, it's one of the 15th or 16th largest economies in the world today, and the economic growth over there, gross domestic product, has really been very strong. Of course, they've had a negative trade deficit account, and the economy is not growing quite as much today. And I noticed that over time, more and more people were coming up to me knowing that I was involved with Turkey when I would go to social gatherings and so forth, and they would start expressing concern about a possible Islamist movement within Turkey. And, of course, the recent banning of alcoholic advertisements in Turkey, the banning of the sale of alcohol, and the recent demonstrations in Istanbul at Taksim Square relating to the planned development in the park has brought a lot of demonstrations in Turkey, as you're well aware. I was over there 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, and they had a Labor Day celebration, and I know that there was an altercation with the police in that area at that time. Some tear gas was used at that time. And I will say, because in America, we're having tremendous difficulty financing our infrastructure needs, highways, bridges, ports, et cetera. All of us were very much impressed that in Turkey, they're building these magnificent bridges over the Bosphorus. They're planning to build more, and they let a contract for, I guess, the third Istanbul airport while I was in Turkey, a $22 billion project. Of course, they're not using government money or using private financing. But I mention that because in reading about the demonstrations in Turkey, we find out that a group of environmentalists seem to be quite concerned about some of these gigantic developments and the impact on the environment. Now, I can tell you I have no personal knowledge myself of what's causing these demonstrations, but I do understand that many people feel that Prime Minister Erdogan is becoming more and more autocratic, and that his personality seems to be evolving a little bit because he's been in power for quite a while, and we know that power has an impact on people, whether they are inclined to be that way or they're not. But I think that that is of some concern to a lot of very strong supporters for Turkey in the U.S. As I said, I think he's an excellent politician. He has a great personality, and when he was meeting with us on a regular basis, when he came to the U.S., we were all very much impressed with him. But there are some signs that bother us a little bit right now, and I personally think these demonstrations are probably good because in a free society, we want everyone to be able to express their views, their concerns, and what they are upset about. And so I'm delighted that Prime Minister Erdogan is actually meeting with some of the protesters and talking to my friend Volkan Bozkır, who is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Turkish Parliament. He tells me that one of the things they're trying to focus on in the park, which used to be an Ottoman Empire barracks and so forth, is to build a museum there with emphasis on the Ottoman Empire. So I don't know, it was my understanding there was going to be a big commercial development in this park, and that was one of the things that caused the initial demonstration. But all of us are very much aware that Turkey has been a leader in trying to speak openly against President Assad and asking him to step down. I will tell you, I'm not an intimate or an advisor or consultant or anything else to President Obama, but I think he's been rather reluctant to get involved in Syria, and I think the reason is quite obvious, because as a representative of the 101st Airborne Division, I can tell you we have military fatigue in America today. Our troops have been deployed so many times, and the impact that it's had on the families of these soldiers is really unbelievable. The 104th Airborne Division since 2002 has been deployed 4 or 5 or 6 times, some of them. And so there's a lot of fatigue on this issue, and I don't think that President Obama is anxious to get the United States militarily involved anywhere right now. And so that presents an additional challenge for this administration as to what should be done in Syria. It appears that President Assad is gaining strength every day. I know that Prime Minister Erdogan, as I said, has been out there in the forefront asking him to step down, and the Turks have paid a price themselves. The number of refugees in Turkey right now, and the cost of that is a real burden on that country. I guess last year they paid out nearly $600 million providing assistance to these refugees. So I don't certainly have any real answers to Syria. We know that, of course, the Kurds are involved there. The rebels, it's difficult to identify exactly who the rebels are. We know that Hezbollah is there supporting Assad today. So it's a complex issue, and it's something that our Intelligence Committee in the Congress is focused on every single day. Our Foreign Relations Committee is following it closely, as are members of Congress. But overall, I continue to be very optimistic about our relationship with Turkey. I consider them a valuable ally. In Congress, I spend most of my time, truthfully, on energy issues, and with all of the pipelines going through Turkey now, it's a vital player in the area of energy and providing natural gas to Europe and so forth. So I want to welcome all of you once again to this 4th conference on Turkey, and I want to thank the Middle East Institute for the great job they continue to do. And I look forward to working with all of you as we move forward, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here this morning.
10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Congressman has agreed to take a few questions. If you could wait for the microphone to come to you, because we're recording this, please state clearly your name and if you'd like your affiliation. Questions? There's a question.
Hi, Michelle Kellerman with National Public Radio. I had a question about what you just mentioned, the military fatigue in going into Syria, and I wondered what you thought about the President's announcement or the White House's announcement yesterday that they're going to start sending military aid to the rebels.
Well, I think the Congress is divided on military aid to the rebels because we're not really sure who the rebels are. And I personally would just like to see maybe a no-fly zone implemented myself. I think that could be done more effectively. But I would just say the Congress would be divided. You've seen the recent debate between John McCain and others in the U.S. Senate on that issue. And unless we really know who the rebels are and what the consequences will be if they're successful, I think I might be reluctant to provide aid to the rebels at this time from my perspective.
Question right here.
You say you support a no-fly zone. Mike Dante. I'm from George Mason, but I'm a student. You say that you support the idea of a no-fly zone. I was wondering what the mechanism of that would be, because it would seem that either we have to have U.S. Forces involved to enforce the no-fly zone, or else we're going to have to supply anti-air weapons to the rebels, and you say you're not in favor of arming the rebels, so I'm wondering what your suggestions are. Thank you.
Well, it would obviously the air support would have to come from our carriers in the region, and that would be a costly endeavor. But I made that statement without having given it a lot of thought. But I would just say that I'm opposed to giving weapons to the rebels right now myself, and I don't know how extensive or really how strong the Syrian air power is, but if they are using air power, 93,000 people have been killed in Syria already, roughly. And I just don't think that anything that we can do to prevent that, I think we should try to do. And, of course, providing having no-fly zone would be costly and would require U.S. military involvement from an air perspective.
If I might ask a question, Congressman, I found your comment intriguing when you're saying you follow energy issues and particularly the gas pipelines. Could you expand a little bit about that and tell us about some of the projects for gas pipelines through Turkey, because I think they're very important to the American public.
Well, they are very important. I'm going to divert a little bit here and get off, because this is a topic that I'm very much interested in. In America, we're the first country that right now you cannot build a new coal-powered plant because of regulations in this administration that are pending. And as a result of that, a lot of coal has been moving to Europe. And I don't know if many of you know this, not because when we think of Europe, we think of green energy. But in Europe right now, they're planning 60 new coal-powered plants representing like 69 gigawatts of power in Europe's being discussed right now. And because coal prices are going down, many in Europe are getting cheaper natural gas prices out of Russia. And these pipelines through Turkey are vitally important because Europe depends so much on natural gas from the Soviet Union, and or not Soviet Union, but from Russia. And any additional pipelines that we have or access to natural gas for Europe, I think, is vitally important. And that's why, in my view, Turkey's role in additional pipelines for energy supply is vitally important in that area. Yes.
Olga okumuş, lecturer at Olgu okumuş, lecturer at Sciences Po in Paris, working on energy transit, oil and gas transit towards Turkey. So just a following question. How do you analyze Mr. Erdogan's announcements about Turkey and KRG, Kurdistan Regional Government of Iraq's energy cooperation, especially oil and the long-term gas cooperation? Thank you.
I didn't.
The cooperation between the Turkey and the KRG for oil transit that Mr. Erdogan has announced before he arrives here to Washington.
The cooperation on
A cooperative agreement with the Turkish government and
Kurdish region, the agreement between Turkish government and the... No, I mean, before Mr. Erdogan came here, he announced that Turkish government signed an agreement between ExxonMobil and Kurdish regional government of Iraq for oil transit from northern oil fields to Turkey's Mediterranean port. So my question concerns, how do you see this agreement? And the following question will be, if this agreement can bring in long-term gas transit from northern Iraq to Turkey, is it interesting for US or for the European partners because it can strengthen Southern Energy Corridor projects?
Well, you know, I'm not really that familiar with the agreement, so I don't really think I could respond to it, to be truthful. I know that northern Iraq has valuable oil reserves, and it's very important, but I'm just not familiar with the details of his announcement about that. Yes.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I work for Teneo Strategy. I was just wondering how the current political climate in Turkey is affecting direct foreign investment, especially with energy.
Well, I don't think that there's been a significant amount of direct foreign investment from U.S. companies in Turkey. I will say that there have been a number of Turkish companies that have opened up in the United States. For example, the big towers for our electrical transmission lines. A large Turkish company just opened up an office down in Houston, Texas, and a manufacturing facility where they're starting to build those towers here. There's been a large, as you know, Turkey is the largest importer of scrap metal in the world, and they've opened up a large facility down in Texas as well, another Turkish company that deals in scrap metal. But as far as, I don't think there's been a significant amount of direct foreign investment in Turkey directly related to energy issues.
Congressman, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
truly appreciate
Thank you.